This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Let me put on my headsets to make sure I hear him. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Now I got you. Now I got you. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Down here in Coral Gables for practice number 2. Was in Orlando over the weekend for the Under Armour combine where they had a bunch of the 2024 kids from all over the state, and just been busy, man, turning out a lot of content.
No, I know. And I've read, obviously, some of that content at The Athletic, which you all should subscribe to support Manny and keep up with what's going on with the Canes overall. Manny, when we see the headline that says beefy lineman.
Yes. Yeah, it's certainly a different look for a lot of the offensive and defensive linemen out here. You can see where Mario's gone out and it's kind of like the Bill Parcells thing, right? With the Dolphins when he went out there and all of a sudden started getting measurements played a big role in who he recruited. I think it's the same thing going on here. You have the 2 5-star offensive tackles from the last recruiting class, Samson Okunlola, Francis Mangoa. They're with the second team right now, but you watch those guys, they're both 6'6", they're both well over 300 pounds, and they look like monsters. You add in a Javian Cohen, who's another huge offensive lineman from Alabama. You get the Matt Lee kid, who's a 6'4", 295-pound center from UCF, and all of a sudden you look like you belong in college football up front.
No, I know, and that's, to me, that also, I would imagine here's where we're going to start seeing some progress. And, the battle for all these positions, how much of a chance do these young guys have a chance to, crack the lineup?
Yeah, man, I would say they have a great chance. Zion Nelson is out this spring. There's a lot of guys out this spring that are still recovering from surgery or procedures that were done during the season. And so, Mario's allowing a lot of these young guys to come in and get a lot of reps, both on the offensive and defensive line. So, I think there's a very good chance that come this fall, they'll be right there with some of the older players to win jobs.
I got to tell you something. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but it seems to me like, Mario, and he's a smart dude, but he is kind of stubborn in his ways. But the way he was talking, now you got to show it to me and I got to believe it, right?
Yeah.
But Mario's been kind of conservative in the way he coaches, even offensively in football. But the way he was describing his offensive coordinator the other day and kind of talking about how it's going to be, a mix of an aggressive defense and things that you have to, he was kind of, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was kind of saying things that you have to do in today's football where you have to have explosiveness. But at the same time, he also said, hey, we're going to be able to be balanced and run the ball. But if we have to, again, paraphrasing, if we have to go 70-30 passing, then we'll do what we have to do in order to do that. And on the moments that we can be balanced, we're going to be balanced. And so I don't know if it's a change of philosophy. I don't know. I don't even know if that's fair to call that. Maybe he'd take that as an insult. But it was almost like he was addressing that conservative nature and saying, yeah, we're going to be a little different and we're going to be a little bit more aggressive than what you think. I don't know. You tell me. You're around it more.
Yeah, I mean, I think without question, I think, when he came in here year 1, he went out and he hired the guys, I think, that would run the kind of system when he's got all of his players here, right? Like, that's the kind of style. When he's got the 6'6", 330-pound offensive linemen across the board and the All-American defensive tackles and the All-American defensive ends, that Alabama, power running game, Oregon running game type offense, I think in a perfect world, that's who Mario is at his heart, right? That's who he is as a lineman. But I use the word acquiesce. I think he came in here, he had a vision for what he wanted, and then he realized, I don't have the personnel, I don't have the players. I can't just force, something upon this group of players that they can't give me. So there's an adjustment. And, right now the strength of his team really is his quarterback. It's Tyler Van Dyke. It's the offensive line. It's a couple of those big receivers, Colby Young. Some of the guys that young guys that they've recently added to this roster. So you got to run the kind of system that is going to win you ball games. And I think last year he came in here saying, "No, we're going to run the football. It's just going to be a mindset." And then he realized, man, I don't know. I don't only not have the offensive lineman. I don't even have the backs that I need to play this kind of style. And it was sort of a tough learning lesson in year one for him.
Well, I at least to me, it sounded like he, and I think it's really important. It's like I'm watching the Heat. I know last night they finally started hitting threes, but it's like, dude, you guys built a team that's completely out of date
Yeah.
with what the hell is going on in the NBA nowadays. And how do you expect to win that you're a 2-point team in a 3-point world? And to me, today in college football, what I saw from them a couple of years ago, that's more like what you need. What I saw last year, brother, that's not going to get you anywhere. You can't score. And it just sounded to me like a guy that realized I've got to be a little bit more, aggressive in my nature on offense. And by the way, I think it's also going to help you lure more high-level talent because receivers aren't going to want to come to an offense that's just running the ball and not throwing, nearly a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what he's saying is we're going to do whatever it takes to win, right? And if throwing the football is the best way to do it, that's what he's going to do. And I think at his heart, he's going to want to run the football and be more balanced. But game to game to game, they're going to have to make adjustments based on what they're facing and what they're doing. And look, it is what it is. This place used to be great, and it's not great anymore. It's far from it, and there's a lot of work to be done to get there. And I just think instead of being maybe rigid in his ways like he was in year one, he's willing to adapt in year two and make the necessary changes, which is a welcome sight. We've had a lot of Miami coaches that don't do that. They've come in here and they stick with the same defensive coordinator for 5 years, or they stick with the same mindset, and you can't do that here. You got to adjust when you're a mediocre football program.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what they've been, an incredibly mediocre and embarrassing football program. Hopefully I think Cristobal will figure it out. I really do. I think he's just got to learn and get everything in place, and hopefully we'll see them take some steps forward this year. One of your articles in the Athletic, you talked about international players.
Yeah.
And this year the Miami Dolphins had a young man from Kohu is I think from somewhere in Africa. I want to say Nigeria maybe, or I forgot exactly which is the country he's from. And so Cater, we're watching, international players make the transition. One of the things I've talked about with the NFL that I think their next, frontier, I've said is you got to put a European division, not an expansion of one or two teams. You got to put 4 teams out there, one in London, one in Paris, one in Berlin, one in Barcelona, and then have like an international facility where the visiting teams from America can go there, and a visiting facility and hotel, and they can stay there for a couple of weeks and play a couple of teams. And the same thing here, build an international facility here so that when the international teams come here, they stay for a couple of weeks in a centralized place that they can fly to, different locations and play a couple of games and then, fly back. And why do I say that? Because the next frontier is what basketball and soccer have done. Soccer has been, pulling from the world talent for 100 years. Basketball now, obviously the last 30, 40 years, we're watching the international talent crossover and international leagues grow and all that kind of stuff. And so now the NBA has an international, system, and so does baseball from the Caribbean and South America, Central America, where they have, a couple of countries that play baseball, and they're feeding, So for me, that's the next frontier, that the rest of the world picks up American football and it starts to go to the next level. How much do you see that growing right now at the college level?
I think 100%. I mean, it's definitely growing. I mean, especially, I mean, you've had the Australian punter thing for a while now.
Right.
Have really fed into the NFL and the college systems. I mean, it feels like every major Power Five team has an Australian punter these days. The way that's worked out, and obviously Miami had Lou Headley. Now they've got Dylan Joyce, so it's kind of like it's continuing now in the into phase 2 here in 2023. But when I was in Orlando for this
By the
Under Armour.
way, just to add a little historical nugget.
Mhm.
I think his name was like Gobel or something like that. The Giants kicker
Yeah.
back in the 60s,
Yep.
right? They went to a soccer player because all the kickers were kicking straight.
Oh yeah.
And they went and found a soccer player that started doing it from the side. And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, he's the guy that started all of that. A soccer player is the one that changed the way American kickers approached the field goal. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
shows you that influence can help you out in so many different ways. But go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say now is it's sort of expanding even more into rugby, in the rugby players. Francis Maui Go. I was just listening to an interview I did with him back in December, and he talked about playing rugby over in American Samoa. That's what he grew up playing up until about he was 12 years old when he made the switch to football. The MVP of this Orlando All American Combine that got an invite to play in the game. He's from Mozambique. He's a 6'4", 280-pound center who has tremendous feet because he grew up playing rugby. He just started playing football at age 14, and he's from Mozambique. I mean, there were kids there from Germany. There's another offensive lineman from Germany who's been here for 2 years. He's living in Georgia. One of the top defensive linemen, one of the kids that won MVP, is French Canadian kid out of Montreal. So it's definitely diversifying, and I think you have to sort of it's a global game now for football. It's really turning into that, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years you're going to see it expand even more because these places are getting better at what they do in terms of development.
Yeah, no, and I think that is going to open it up now for football. Is 10, 20 years down the line.
Right.
It's going to take a while for this to happen because obviously it takes a while for young people to start to really appreciate the game. And I think the more American football is played overseas,
Mm-hmm.
the NFL games, I think the more we do that, obviously that will continue to influence and help the game grow, overseas. And then that will allow colleges and the NFL to have a bigger pool of talent to actually go and get. You know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah.
but that's again, it's down the line, but that's where their next revenue stream is really going to come from, at least on the pro side. Is going overseas. Just out of curiosity, bro, your thoughts on Jim Larinaga, because that man is just absolutely
Yeah.
amazing, dude.
Amazing job by really him, and I think his he had a lot of coaching turnover. People forget in the last couple of years he's had assistant coaches leave him, and I think the real way that you judge how great a head coach is how many of his guys go on to other places and do great things, and then how quickly can he replace them and keep winning. And I think this is proof in the pudding that you have the right head coach. Doesn't matter who his assistants are, he can rotate those guys in and out and keep winning. And it's really more of a testament to him. And I think the job that they've done in the transfer portal, I think back to when I first started covering Miami basketball 15, 20 years ago with Jack McClinton. He was sort of the first big time transfer, I think, in the modern era when you started having kids do that regularly in basketball before it became a big deal in football. And ever since then, they've done a great job just picking off kids from other teams, bringing them in here. But testament also to Larinaga's recruiting, getting a guy like Isaiah Wong and turning him into the ACC Player of the Year. So it's a mix of it. But look, after their Elite Eight run, I think a lot of people were like, they lost some guys, and see if they can make it back there. And they have a great team. I mean, they won 24, 25 games. They're going into the ACC tournament as the number one seed. Testament to the job Larinaga's done in his time here.
I think what's happened is that college basketball has come back to Jim Larinaga's world. because Jim
In a lot of ways,
Larinaga's
yeah, player
world.
development, right?
Right. He's never been the McDonald's All-American guy all the way back to George Mason.
Right.
So he always had to have guys who were pretty good, but not NBA, but good at the college level, but with a lot of experience, 3-4 years, like the Shane Larkin teams, where Larkin was the only young guy that actually had NBA skills.
Right.
And the other guys were just older veterans that at best they were probably going to play overseas or something like that. But they were really good college players because they were in the, their bodies had developed, their minds have developed. They've been in the, 3-4 years. And then here we got again. Now here's basketball where McDonald's All-Americans are gone. Very few of them are left now. Most of them go to a G League or overseas because they go get the money right away, right? And so now you've got less stars in the league. So now this is why the North Carolinas and the Dukes and the Kentuckys, they're not the powerhouses that they were before because they're not loading up on McDonald's All-Americans. Now you've got to play the game that Jim Larinaga's been playing for 40 years.
Correct.
So to me, that's kind of what's happened now. Everybody's at Jim Larinaga's level, and Jim already was competing with everybody at elite levels while he was here at this level. Now you're at his level. Oh, dude, he's eating your lunch.
Yeah, great points. though. It really is. And I just think NIL is really when you think about the impact for college basketball, it's saving maybe the sport. A lot of these guys, like you said, they'll take the money overseas. They'll leave early because they think that's the right decision. Hopefully, more and more of these guys decide to come back to school and finish their college careers and realize, hey, look, it's probably a long shot I'm going to make it in the NBA, right? Like this is probably my time to shine and enjoy, my career at a high point, and I think more guys hopefully make those decisions instead of rushing to go pro. And NIL helps in that. It helps keep some of these guys around and gives them a little bit of money in their pocket, and lets them sort of fully develop instead of rushing to the way they used to be. Where so many guys, I mean, think about it. How many guys came in, played 1 year of college ball, and we never heard from them again?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many guys, and you, oh look, he's in Spain. Oh look, he's in France, but you never hear of the guy again. I think what Miami's done this year is sort of a good example. And Isaiah Wong, where's he going to be in 2 or 3 years? Is he really going to be in the NBA? This is his time to shine. Being the ACC player there, that's something they'll never take from you. This experience, and I think sometimes kids have to value that a little bit more than the quick money, and hopefully NIL helps balance that again.
Any recruiting news on the football side?
No commitments yet. A lot of visitors. I think really, the kids that they really want. I know the junior day was this past weekend, and I talked to a bunch of them while I was here, especially some West Coast kids. It's really about the one-on-one time that you get. So junior day was hundreds of kids that were here. I think it's more when the kids come in and they get their private tour, we might see some of these commitments happening after that. But I'm more of a expected in April, May, June kind of guy when kids are done taking all of their unofficial visits and they start locking in official visits. I think that's when we'll see some of this stuff progress.
All right. Good stuff. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Make sure you subscribe to The Athletic so you can get a lot of great insight, all kinds of great stories. He's traveling around the country, keeping up with a lot of this recruiting stuff nationally. So get on there and subscribe at The Athletic and follow Manny. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up later in the week, my friend.
All right. Good talking to you, brother. Take care.
You got it. We'll be at Canesware on Friday at 10 a.m. Sean and myself will be out there, 2511 South University Drive in Davie. And wait till you see what a surprise I have on Friday over there. But anyway, make sure you get out there, and they got anything and everything with the Canes logo on it. If you can't go to Davie, maybe you live out of town, maybe you live in Hope Sound or in the Keys, you can go online at caneswear.com. They've got anything and everything practically with a Canes logo on it. They've got Heat, Marlins, Panthers, Inter Miami, what else? Marlins gear, all kinds of stuff. And guess what? You can order it. And if you order over $99, which will be really easy because you're going to want to buy this and that and this and that and that. And before you know it, you're going to have like 25 items. You'll get free shipping over $99. So check it out at caneswear.com. All right. Good stuff as always.
O Show.